Hello everyone, here at OS Reviews. You're watching our hands-on review of the Foscam E1. This is a 1080p home security system, but what makes it unique is it's completely wireless. Usually the camera needs to be connected to power, typically micro USB or USB Type-C, and that needs to be plugged directly into the wall outlet. But the E1 actually has a built-in battery which you can charge up and then just leave somewhere up to, I believe, a few weeks, maybe a month, and then recharge it again. It has a wireless kind of docking system that needs to be plugged into your house or maybe into your room so that you can still see what the camera is seeing. Just the camera part itself can be wireless. Now the concept itself isn't completely new. We have seen wireless security cameras before in larger DVR sets and boxes, but those tend to be a lot more expensive. Those tend to be very bulky because there needs to be a server box which includes a hard drive for recording everything that the many cameras and many channels are seeing. The E1 is a more simplified version of that for consumers because it only has one camera that's wireless. It's weather resistant, of course, which makes sense on a wireless model, so you can just put it outside in your garden or something to monitor everything outside the house without worrying about having to plug it into an outlet somewhere. And if someone tries to, unplug it, it's still going to be running because it doesn't need to be plugged in at all. There's also motion detection, and it works with an app that you can use with both iOS and Android. So here's what we have inside the box. There's the wireless receiver station, which you can see here has antennas that needs to kind of communicate with the wireless camera. What's cool is Foscam also has 1 GB of free storage up to 7 days with just your free app. So you're able to monitor everything securely, save some basic data, and in the case something happens, you're able to just quickly glance back at those recordings as part of the package here. We also have the mount for the camera, which I believe is just magnetic. Here's the rather large battery for the camera, which does not come pre-inserted. It's 5,000 milliamp hours, and there's also the AC power brick, which is for the wireless charging station itself that you'll be leaving inside the house. Here is a quick kind of documentation card, including a sticker that you can put outside onto a window that says 24-hour recording, and a quick start guide for the E1. Now a very quick look at the camera's design and some of its controls before we launch into performance, and a closer look at the app. So first of all, the camera itself is made primarily out of polycarbonate plastic, but it's fairly well constructed. You can hear that there's a small speaker there that also gives you voice prompts in addition to two-way communication. The camera lens itself has a 110-degree field of view, so it's pretty wide, but not quite as wide as those crazy kind of 170-degree lenses that we've been seeing from some of the other pan and tilt and dome-shamed security cameras. So a little bit more narrow there. We'll see how that affects the performance later on. There's a few status LED lights here. The orange that you're seeing here that's blinking means that the connection is unsuccessful, but if it's green, it means that it's been successfully connected, and the battery simply goes onto the bottom here. There's a latch that you can press on here, and then the door just pops open. And you can also tell that the flaps here are covered up by rubber because the micro USB port here needs to be waterproof, and so be sure to close this up if you want to place the camera outdoor. Over here, this is where it magnetically attaches onto this round mount here, and it actually works very well. It stays in place nicely, and the mount can be either using a 3M tape, you can stick it onto a surface, or you can use screws to mount it more permanently onto a wall. On the back here, very interestingly, there's also a USB port, and at first I was puzzled on what this would do, but you can plug in a thumb drive or even a small hard drive, and basically you're able to record video onto the local disk directly. So this is a feature that's actually very similar to the larger NVR or DVR style I was talking about previously. So you're able to use your own memory if you don't want to use the cloud plan, which is again pretty cool. It just doesn't come with any hard drive storage built onto the station itself. There's also a speaker here, and there's also the port for the dedicated power switch here, and the Ethernet port for wired internet connection. A quick jump cut. So as it turns out, the base station needs to be plugged into a router using Ethernet or wired internet as opposed to Wi-Fi, or at least that's the simplest way of setting it up. In fact, if you go to Add Devices in the Foscam app and then tap on the base station, it's going to suggest that you plug it in using Ethernet to your router directly. And we're able to see a quick thumbnail of what the camera here, the E1, is seeing. So these notifications that are coming in are actually produced by the E1. So you can see that it says the battery is actually a little bit low. In addition, there's actually motion that's been activated as I'm slightly moving around the camera here. There's a slight delay because the wireless camera needs to send the signal over to the base station, which then, using the cloud by being connected to the internet, sends it over to the phone. But it's not too bad. It's about a 1 or 2 second delay. And after the battery is less than 30%, you're going to receive these notifications, which you can mute in the settings if you want to. So let's take a quick look at the image quality next. You can see that in terms of the connection, it actually seems to be pretty good, considering that the base station is actually again connected using Ethernet to the router, which is on a different level of the building. It's on the first floor. Right now we're on the second floor. So that's actually quite impressive that it seems like it's doing a pretty good job in terms of loading speeds. Otherwise, the image quality seems to be pretty good. Right now we have some of the lights turned off right now, but you can still see it in full color. And if we tilt the phone, you can actually see a larger view back of what the camera is seeing. And you can see definitely that the details, including text, are fully legible here. So the box here is captured pretty well, despite it being a fixed focus lens, which does better at capturing objects a little bit further from the lens, about 2 to 3 feet away. There's a bit of a distortion here just because it is a pretty wide angle field of view, so it's not quite straight. It's about, again, 120 degrees in terms of the lens, so it seems to capture a good amount of area. If you just set it up in a corner in the room or outdoors, it seems to do a fair job there. In terms of capturing colors, it does have a slight tendency to have a bluish tint. Turning on another light kind of here in the background, you can see that the color and exposure here seems to have improved. So I would say that in the regular camera mode, if you're not using night vision, you definitely want the room to be fairly well illuminated, and the colors actually seem a lot more natural looking, as you can see here, compared to the table. Before, again, you saw that slightly bluish tint. So if it was a little bit dimmer, then it struggles a bit more. I've turned off the lights, and this is what the night vision mode looks like. So it's pretty effective in terms of detecting when to switch back and forth between color and black and white, but it doesn't have color night vision, so it's always going to be in this monochrome image. But you can still make out characters and basic shapes, people's faces, things like that. It can still detect motion without too many problems, and it has a pretty even amount of IR lights, which can illuminate subjects up to 30 feet away. So this one was just at the table here. Again, text is fully legible, as you can see here on the bottom, and another one that's kind of further away. And then here is the bulbs getting slightly brighter to compensate for a further distance. And this one was capturing kind of a tree outside, so you can tell that outdoors it can still detect plenty of details, whether it's trees, smaller animals, people walking around near your front door, things like that will all be captured without any issues. Another tree, and this is kind of just showing that if you put it onto a window, so if there's a pane of glass and you're trying to look outside, it's not going to be as effective because the IR lights will reflect, even though you can't see it with your own eyes, and you can't really tell what's outside. But if you don't have any glass, you can definitely see the objects and animals without any problems. When it comes to battery life, again, 5,000 milliamp hours, the camera itself can be operational when you are plugged into power, when it's charging. It charges up in around 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and afterwards it will last you for about 3 weeks of continuous recording before you need to recharge it again. It depends on how often motion is being triggered. If you're constantly walking and it's always picking up these detections, if you're always actually recording video, it's going to drain a little bit faster. You're going to receive live notifications on your phone whenever motion is detected, and it's actually quite sensitive. You can set it up in 2 modes. The first, which is detecting humans only. The second, which is detecting animals and smaller objects. So if you choose the second, even smaller objects may trigger it. You may get some false alarms here and there. So that's the Foscam E1, a completely wireless home security system. And for $200, the price also isn't that bad, considering just a few years ago, a pan and tilt security system that was offered by a good brand retailed for about the same price. Of course, the cost has come down in the past few years as pan and tilt security cameras have become more and more popular, and now we can find them for about $30 to $50 depending where you look. But the wireless solution here makes a lot of sense if you want to place a camera, let's say, in your front door or in the yard, and having a lot of wires dangling or worrying about an electrical outlet outside where someone can just turn it off by unplugging it really is a pretty large concern. If all you need is security footage that's mainly indoors, then a regular camera would probably do the job at a fraction of the price. But if you really do need a wireless camera, and again, you're not just getting it because you are monitoring footage indoors, but again, mostly outdoors where no outlets are available, then this is definitely something to take a closer look at. You can check out more details in the links down below, but for now, this has been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. This has been the Foscam E1.